went through jobs, they're going through careers. I'd like to think that this Corps will prepare that professional of tomorrow for multiple stops that will keep them engaged, curious, and active throughout the information professions. I truly believe that that whole category of information professions is no doubt the key to success, and I'll escalate up there to nationally, worldwide, globally, as we move into this century deeper and deeper, because if information is at the heart of what we're doing already, that's only going to expand. So with that, I'm actually going to end a minute early. Again, I want to thank you for the opportunity to do my own reflective processes about how passionate I am about the profession and what I think is absolutely core. Thank you.
Good morning.
Oh, I've got your mic, Charles. Mike told me I have the mic. There, that's that minute.
I'll watch my time. All right, I'm all mic'd up. It's been almost exactly 38 years since I was awarded a master's degree here at Sills and left my first job as a graduate assistant in the Wilson Library in the North Carolina collection. In the time since, I've been a circuit rider in academics, having run 5 academic libraries, now the Association of Research Libraries, and I have to say that it's been a time of enormous change, and I find it extremely gratifying, and I'm appreciative of Gary's invitation to come and think with such a wonderful group of colleagues about what it's going to be like 38 years from now. And in doing that, I want to start by saying I'm not going to talk about information technology. Others will, and others have already done that. That's not to say that I don't think it's a key driver of the change in the information environment. I think a change that will demand that we adapt curricula to meet new educational needs. Instead, I want to focus on an important socio-cultural change that I believe will, as much as technology, change the landscape for us, change scholarly communication, and it will ramify through information organizations, particularly those closely associated with, allied with, teaching, research, and discovery. To ignore open access, I believe, is to ignore an extremely important force that is disruptive for much of what information professionals do today, as well as what iSchools do to educate them in that work. But how do we think about open access long term? We've already had a number of our presenters talk about the difficulty of thinking about something in 2050. I agree. My answer, though, is that we rather have to do this like a bit of scenario thinking. And it's relatively easy to do scenario thinking in 2050 because we can assume that all the problems that we have today will be gone. They'll be solved. You won't have to worry about any of the stuff that you worry about as a professional, as an educator, as an academician in 2050 that you worry about today. There'll be a whole new set of problems instead. So we frame 2050 by enunciating conditions that will be totally different from those that exist today. Like others, I am focused on the context within which I work, which happens to be, for me, the Academy. The Academy is an information-driven enterprise, if there ever was one, for all of its core activities: research, teaching, learning, knowledge creation, and knowledge preservation, I might add. This is supported by the system of scholarly communication that has evolved by accretion since the last quarter of the 19th century. What I posit is a completely different system 4 decades from now, one that springs out of the current open access movement. Further, because the current structure of scholarly communication has so palpably defined what libraries are, it follows that libraries, and more to the point of this conference, education for librarianship and other information professions will be unrecognizable. I want to outline an evidence for forces that I believe are at work and that are indicators of the increasing momentum of OA and why I believe it will become the ascendant characteristic of scholarly communication. It already is having a large impact. We have thousands of open access journals in the last 10 years and a growing and vibrant open access textbook movement. There's evidence of it just yesterday. The Senate of the state of California passed an open access textbook program to be used by state colleges and universities. The full potential for using networked technology and computational power to accelerate scholarship depends on unfettered access to publications and data, the underlying data. Open access is emerging, but access in turn depends upon the clearly stated rights to both use and reuse. Advocacy for OA is expected from the Association of Research Libraries, but I have to offer a disclaimer here. The clarion call for OA came not from libraries or librarians or library associations, but from the scientific community, beginning with Harold Varmus at the National Institutes of Health and the first Berlin Conference in 2003. Through SPARC, ARL has, of course, worked hard to support OA with many other academic library partners. The full realization of this sort of vision will be dependent, I believe, on the extent to which the Academy embraces open access to create new knowledge, to build on earlier findings, and to translate research for educational and commercial use. The making of the case for this, for public access to tax-funded research, is a principled stand. Everybody gets it when you say, if tax dollars paid for it, the public ought to be able to have access to it. There are equally strong cases to be made, however, for both the economic benefits, the impact of open access, and the acceleration of research scholarship that results from it. The lobbying that we saw recently for proposed legislation, the so-called Research Works Act, was aimed at rolling back the NIH posting requirement and preventing other agencies from similar mandates. And the basis for the case against this, made by principally commercial advocates, was that it protected jobs if we got rid of this posting requirement. That is something that motivates politicians, even when the case is flimsy or merely bald assertion made by special interest. So, what is to be said in favor of the economic impact of OA? There's already a strong argument made that public access to high-end research results enables a broad array of businesses and industries to nourish their own R&D and to develop new products and thereby create jobs. There's a substantial body of research demonstrating that making publicly funded research available to all those who can use it just makes sense from an economic point of view. Early studies during the 1990s provided tangible evidence of the economic benefits to product innovation. For these studies were conducted by John Hooton and commissioned by SPARC and focused on the Federal Research Public Access Act, the FERPA Act. Even exploring the sensitivities of Hooton's model, we find that the benefits always exceeded the cost over a wide range of values. Indeed, it is difficult to imagine any plausible values for the input data and model parameters that would have led to fundamentally different conclusions. He estimated that perhaps 2/3 of the benefits
would accrue within the United States, the other third